So, we're getting into the thick of a new console now. The Switch 2's been out for a few months and counting. You know what that means. Time for Smash Brothers discourse! Nintendo likes getting Smash onto their new hardware within the first couple years whenever possible, because they like money. And I figure it's only a matter of time until we get some kind of news. Probably. So why not jump the gun, get out ahead of the competition, and start talking about the next game's roster? There'll be a lot of YouTubers trying to predict what the next roster might look like and try to get as close to the real thing as possible. I'll probably do that eventually, but screw that. Let's have some fun first. Let's twist this baby around like a genie with a sadistic streak and create the most cursed roster imaginable that still feels somewhat grounded in reality. Before we begin, I want to make it clear that this whole thing is intended to be humorous. The statements therein do not reflect my actual thoughts on the characters. For the sake of your mental state and my future physical well-being, don't take this very seriously. All of that settled? Alrighty then, let's get this over with. First things first, we need to lay the groundwork for the main core franchises. The Marioverse has its mainstay characters back. You know, Mario, Peach, Bowser, Piranha Plant, the big ones. Elsewhere, The Legend of Zelda brought back the Triforce Trio. Link, Zelda, and Ganondorf are all here. Here's our first batch of cuts, though. Gonna be a tough room, and only so many veterans can fit in, so we'll have to show Toon Link and Sheik the door. We want the roster to feel fresh and relevant, and neither of them have really done anything in a while. Don't worry, though, Young Link is still here. Why'd he stick around when Toon Link didn't? Well, because. I get it, though. You're worried about losing a whole other side of the Zelda series. A unique art style, a sillier tone, all of that. Don't worry, though. Our first newcomer has that covered. What? Don't roll your eyes. He's one of the most recurring characters in the series other than the Triforce wielders in Impa. He's even gotten his own games. Sorry if I dredged up some repressed memories. Anyway, Tingle's here to bring his eccentric personality to the roster. Some of his attacks scatter rupees around that he can collect to power up other attacks. His up aerial pops a few balloons above him, dealing knockback at a random upward angle that sometimes kills off the top super early. And his neutral special summons a Tingle Bomb with a randomly chosen blast radius. Maybe you too will lose your stock at 30% while recovering because he happened to pull a big bomb by the ledge. How's Kirby doing? This series had all three of its veterans return. Got off lucky, they did. But they're bringing a newcomer along too. I know fans have been clamoring for a certain someone for a long time. He may be small, unassuming, and gets underestimated a lot, but thanks to some effort, he's become a big enough deal to show up in an upcoming spin-off. Now entering the arena? What? Were you expecting someone else? We all know Sakurai has a grudge against Kirby characters he didn't make. Pay no attention to that. Knuckle Joe makes the promotion from assist trophy to playable fighter. Emphasis on fighter, because he's here to bring that ability into Smash in its full form. You know, the parts that Kirby hasn't already been using for 5 games. With intricate combos and light and heavy versions of several moves, this little guy's armed to the teeth with martial powers, including a key energy projectile, an advancing kick, and a powerful rising uppercut to strike down anyone approaching from the air. Hey, wait a minute. Alright, let's rip the bandage off now. What should we do with Fire Emblem? Well, don't worry. We don't want the roster to have too many anime sword fighters, so I have the perfect idea. We'll take all of these, yoink them all out of the roster, and fold them into the moveset of our next newcomer. How do we keep the Fire Emblem crew around without them stealing slots? Well, Alear can summon emblems of past heroes, so let's stick them all in here. All of Alear's moves and specials will call upon an emblem of a previous FE character and borrow their power. Mar's dash attack, Corrin's up smash, Roy's back throw, check, check, check. Sure, that might not leave fans of any of those characters satisfied, but hey, needing all of that space for references means there's no room in the moveset for Alear's own unique sword skills or divine dragon powers or the hand-to-hand combat from their promoted class, which means their fans won't be happy either. Everyone loses. But, you know, just one Fire Emblem character doesn't feel like enough. We could use a second one. Who's a good option for that? Someone nice, safe, and free of controversy. Well, look who's here to conquer the roster. Edelgard is a heavy, armored axe user with slow-ish yet big and powerful swings of her weapon. Sure, most of those swings are exactly like a sword, but come on. She also has a list of combat arts and gambits to borrow from for her specials, like a down special that sets part of the stage on fire. Isn't that right, Bernadetta? And, of course, her side special is her signature art, Raging Storm, a dashing axe strike that, if it hits something, mimics its gale force-like effect from 3 houses and lets her cancel out of it into anything, including another Raging Storm, a move destined to be dreaded by casual fans and considered very annoying competitively. Oh, and Pyra and Mithra also got the boot for being anime sword fighters. Sorry, you two, you're collateral damage. Here comes the pain. We need to keep cutting more characters. Can't just expect them to bring everyone back a second time, with even more veterans than before, and still have the ability to create a reasonable amount of new content. Even I'm not that crazy. We need to make some room. So, all of you old retro geezers, take a hike. Game & Watch, Rob, that stupid laughing dog, out with you. Ice climbers, hold up. The devs say you're cool, but they think the reason hardly anyone played you in Ultimate was because you were too complicated to use. So, Popo, you stay. Nana, you're out. We'll just call you Ice Climber from now on. Third parties, you aren't exempt either. Belmonts, Mega Man, sorry, but you're gone. Your series haven't had anything new in years, so come back once your companies do something with you other than repackage collections of old games. Some of you are still fine though. Ryu, Pac-Man, Sonic, you're in the clear. In fact, Sonic can bring someone along with him. Let the Year of Shadow continue. A lot of folks have been talking about his chances for Smash 6 lately, myself included. So let's say the devs strike while the iron is hot and finally bring him in. The good news is, Shadow has some interesting stuff to work with. Between the Chaos powers he's already been using for years and the new Doom powers he got in Shadow Generations, he wouldn't have to rely on copying Sonic's moveset. However, the devs didn't learn their lesson from what happened with Sonic the last 2 games. So, now there are 2 super fast characters running away and spin dashing in the corner until time expires the moment they get the lead, in ways that are extremely out of character for both of them. Time for a few more cuts. We need to bench some characters whose franchises haven't been active. Kid Icarus Trio, sorry, you are the weakest link. Come back when Nintendo remembers you exist again. I'm not completely heartless, though. I did keep all the Star Fox characters. What do you mean they haven't been active for a long time either? There's a big difference. These guys were a big deal in the 1990s. That was my childhood. That means they matter more. Because... Speaking of nostalgia bias, what can we do with Pokemon? I'll tell ya. Let's kick out those newfangled designs so the ones from the original 150 have some breathing room. We can even separate Squirtle and Ivysaur into their own slots. Come on, everyone knows Gen 1 is the most iconic and important. That's when Pokemon was a fad. It's not like any of the characters since then have grown to become extremely popular in their own right nowadays, right? That's crazy talk. Don't worry though, we still have room for a newcomer from the latest generation. Switching in next? You know, we don't have an answer on the roster yet. Now we can say we have one. But how could we build Quaquaval's moveset? Let's look at some Capoeira-esque characters from other fighting games. We could yoink a few moves from there. Maybe a special that copies Eddie Gordo's slippery kick. Add some mix-ups here and there, and voila! Oops, I think we forgot to give the water type any water moves. Actually, in hindsight, this moveset isn't using much of the species' actual lore or move pool at all, is it? I guess the devs were so caught up in making references that they built a moveset based on a surface level read of the character that doesn't tap into what actually makes them unique. Oh well, you've seen all the fan-made movesets that do that. When in Rome. Okay, this is going a little too far. Between a dance battler and a pint-sized Shoto, we're overdoing it on the FGC adjacent stuff. We don't want the roster to have too many fighting game characters, so we need to get rid of a few. Ken, Terry, hit the showers. That includes the non-traditional fighting games. Sorry, Min Min, you're overcooked. And Little Mac, your series isn't exactly fighting games, but too bad, close enough. Kazuya gets to stay though. His company's helping develop the game, so he gets special privilege. And because he wasn't privileged enough, the devs took pity on how difficult his electric wind god fist was for casual players to do, so they made it easier than before, and no less overpowered. Where else can we trim things? Oh, I know. There's still some characters left whose movesets are based on other characters, but we don't want to just get rid of them. So how about we fold them into their source characters as alternate costumes? Dr. Mario, you can be a Mario alt now. Daisy, you're a Peach alt. Dark Samus, stop levitating because you're a Samus alt now. That's not enough. We can take it further. Lucas, you're an alt for Ness now. Luigi, you're also a Mario alt. What do you mean, those two aren't clones? Next you'll tell me Lucario didn't steal Mewtwo's slot in Brawl. I mean, their neutral specials look similar, so that must have been what happened, right? Speaking of replacements, Olimar, you're getting pretty long in the tooth. We have someone who can take your place. Out with the old, in with the new. With Olimar sidelined, it's up to the rookie recruit of Pikmin 4's Rescue Corps to step in. Sure, we might be ditching a memorable character who was in Pikmin 4, but look on the bright side. We have a bunch of brightly colored spacesuits to use for alts. Most of the old moveset carries over, but we can recycle the Pikmin types a little. Instead of purple and white, now we have red, yellow, blue, and the new Ice Pikmin. These little guys don't deal much damage, but every time they hit something, there's a small chance they'll freeze their target solid and leave them unable to move for several seconds. Surely that won't lead to people losing games to freak RNG all the time or anything. Speaking of space travelers, what's Metroid looking like? The Samuses, Sami, are here. Dark Samus is an alt now, remember? What about Ridley? Well, after his lackluster showing in Ultimate and how often his sheer size got him comboed like a ragdoll, the devs have decided that he really was too big. So he's back to being a boss. There, problem solved. Wait a minute, we forgot the rest of the Mario lineup. Unfortunately, a couple of them couldn't make it. Rosalina and Bowser Jr., you gotta go. We don't want the roster to have too many Mario characters, do we? Don't worry though, we still have several from the larger Mario universe here. Yoshi, Wario, DK and K. Rool, along with a newcomer. Hey, look who's been in the spotlight lately. Pauline's had a big surge in support thanks to her role as DK's co-star in his latest adventure, which also took the scattered moveset potential she already had and added on. Her supernaturally talented voice lets her dispel void energy, activate ancient mechanisms, and somehow copy the composition of nearby terrain. She even has other stuff to work with, like the accessories from the DK arcade games or the wind-up minis from Mario vs. Donkey Kong. So, what's the catch? Well, this is the younger version of Pauline. She was DK's partner in Bonanza, so we don't need Diddy around anymore. Adios, Banana Boy. That almost feels too mean. Removing DK's little buddy from the starting roster? What kind of heartless monster would do something like that? What about some other characters? Inkling and Wii Fit Trainer are here. Aren't there other characters related to them that make a lot of sense as newcomers? Nah. Can't forget Animal Crossing either. It's become a pretty big deal ever since New Horizons, and both of its veterans are back. Wait, didn't I turn characters like Isabelle into alts already? Oh well. In fact, we can fit another Animal Crossing character into here. I mean, hey, he's been around since the first game. Animal Crossing doesn't get much attention from speculators, but the sales and fanbase are there, and that's not a joke. There are even some interesting things Tom Nook could work with moveset-wise. Pulling out objects from his inventory based on stuff he sold in the first couple games, a mechanic where he gathers money to spend on upgrades, or even something using Nook Miles from the newest game. Unfortunately, the devs for this fictional game aren't smart enough for that, so they made him another semi-clone of Villager instead. Pocket Neutral Special, Balloon Trip Up Special, and annoying slingshot aerials included. Disappointed Tom Nook fans, feel free to go drown your sorrows at the Roost. Isabelle fans already meet there on Monday nights. Oh, right. What about the Mii Fighters? Well, they also got cut. No one really plays them anyway. That's all the first party stuff out of the way. right? What are the rest of the guests looking like? Microsoft's characters were pretty popular in Ultimate. The devs were smart enough with this to ask if both could come back. Unfortunately, the tech pros over at Microsoft didn't see much reason to bring the bear and bird back, so sorry. They didn't care about involving any of their other requested characters either. Why spend money working through all of that red tape when you can blow it all on AI instead? They did let Steve come back though, and the devs were not smart enough to learn their lesson here, so he can still cheat his way around all the weaknesses he was supposed to have. When asked why, the response was, "Stop complaining or we'll add Jonesy with his structure building mechanics next." Moving on, Square Enix had multiple fan favorites in Ultimate. What's happening with them? Well, Square Enix also really likes money and questionable decisions. So the whole quartet got held out of the starting roster so they can be sold back as DLC later. Them's the breaks. What about the other Sega characters, like Joker? He's become pretty damn popular. Well, Persona 5's on its way out of relevance, eventually. So he got benched prematurely. Want someone similar enough to him? Just wait until Persona 6 finally comes out in 2032. As for Bayonetta, that series actually got a newcomer. Out with the old, in with the new. Viola made an impact in Bayonetta 3. Your mileage may vary on what kind of impact that was, but she is eligible for Smash now. Even has some interesting moveset stuff going on, between her katana and her demon familiar Cheshire, along with an extra special parry mechanic that the devs swear will work better than it did in Bayo 3 before the patch. Sure, her moveset might be kind of awkward and klutzy at times, but it's the effort that counts, right? Oh, and since Viola is supposed to be the next Bayonetta, we don't need the old Bayo anymore, do we? Oof, that'll go over about as well as Bayo 3's ending did. That just leaves Solid Snake, a guy people were happy to see make it back in Ultimate, but did he really have to be an overpowered top tier again? Don't worry, unlike the other top tiers, the devs selectively listened about this one, and their answer was, well, Smash has changed. And so is Snake by the looks of it. Out with the old, in with the older? Coming out of Metal Gear Solid 4 now, Snake's rapidly aging body has limited his physical abilities in ways that bring his busted CQC down to earth. With slower attacks and even worse mobility than before, he can't bust through opponents so easily anymore. Even has a unique mechanic where his back can act up like an MGS4, stopping his movement abruptly, just like when he randomly tripped in Brawl. That's one way to make this super soldier less superpowered. However, he'll still end up high tier at worst, because his grenades, missile, and C4 are busted. After everything, there's still one more newcomer left. Who in the world could it be? Who could possibly have been saved for last? Surely it'd have to be someone mind-blowing, right? Someone who'd send the collective internet into a rabid frenzy of hype, the likes of which we've never seen before? Introducing? Well then, looks like the devs saw the response to the last time they put a generic enemy in and thought, hey, if Plant Gang went mimetic, let's try it again. Not like there are any other Mario characters who've been itching to get in for ages, right? Well, for what it's worth, there have been a lot of different types of Goombas across the years with stuff to build a moveset around, like sprouting Paragoomba wings for a long-distance recovery, or a multi-bonk attack that can damn near zero to death people if you keep pressing the button perfectly. Wait, that last one's overpowered. There are also different palette swaps and accessories to use for alternate costumes. Now you too can play as a Goomba with a hat. How do they grab people or use items? I don't know. Same way they hold a baseball bat. There we are. A Smash 6 roster that is certainly a thing that exists. I can confidently say that with a roster filled with this many monkeys' paws, almost no one would be looking forward to the game. Apologies in advance if it haunts your nightmares for a while. Yeah, again, this was one giant piece of satire, so don't sweat it if your favorite characters got screwed. Hell, none of my favorites were safe. I mean, you saw the butcher job I did to Fire Emblem. Whenever we get an actual Smash announcement, I'll do a roster prediction for real. Maybe more than one, just like last time. And they'll be more well thought out and get a lot closer to the real thing, I hope. Still, making these rosters is no easy task, but I made sure to go down the list, and I accounted for every character. Yep, didn't forget a single one. Hey, thanks to these people here for helping me make this farce of a video. Thanks as well to everyone supporting my channel, patrons and YouTube members both. You even get little rewards for supporting, like voting in video polls like the one that just happened earlier this month. And if you're new around here, give my other Smash videos a look. I even made newcomer videos for Shadow and Alear that took them much more seriously. So, until next time, what have I unleashed upon the world?